So I'm Hakan, and I work for Finance Excellence Department as the Senior Operations Project Manager.
I'm Sharon Boczkiewicz. I work in finance operations. I manage outgoing royalty payments to our third-party vendors.
So would you raise your hands, how many of people here heard about Siemens? Oh, that's nice. So Siemens is one of the biggest companies and one of the most innovative companies in the world. And we have around 400,000 people working under the Siemens AG and 83 billion euro revenues. And we are spending around 6 billion euro in R&D, and we have around 25,000 software engineers, developers working for us. And Digital Industries Software, which we are working for, is the #1 company in industrial software. And Digital Industries, which we combine and constantly buying companies, and here are some companies we bought over the 12 years, and we spent 10 billion euro investment on these purchases. And the most recent ones, one of the most recent ones, there were some other transactions after Mendix and Mentor Graphics. So this makes us the biggest or #1 in industrial software business.
At Siemens, because we are so focused on advancing technology, they also promote a workplace culture of following that same path. Don't rely on your existing processes. They always want to push us to make use of new technology, be more efficient, be more productive, always learning new ways to accomplish new things.
So digitalization in finance function is one of the highest priorities among our executives. So what we will be talking or focusing today is how we can utilize KNIME for the corporate support functions, which actually derives or multi-billion-dollar decisions when it comes to purchasing or some corporate transactions. So what we are going to talk about, how we can improve shared services, if we call it that way, within the large organizations. So our use case is the owner is Sharon. So how we end up this use case is once I start taking KNIME beginners course, and last year in November these days, and I start searching for use cases. And here one of those.
And I was happy to help him and provide a use case for a report that I was responsible for preparing and publishing. As we are a software company, occasionally we do make the decision to buy software rather than make it. When we make that buy decision, that means we have a royalty that we need to pay out to our third-party vendors. Part of reviewing those decisions requires the information, how profitable are we? Are these royalties worth the decision, or should we relook at these and build them? So we look at low margin areas, we look at loss areas. The problem is we didn't have a good way to capture that data. We could capture transactional data out of SAP, but it wasn't structured in a way that you could easily sort or identify these low margin or loss areas. What we ended up with was a large amount of data that had to be visually scanned by me, looking for patterns. And of course, there were exceptions to patterns. There was no one-fit solution that you could apply a pivot table or an Excel or concatenate lines to identify unique characteristics. It really was me going through tens of thousands of lines of Excel data, my eyes, painful by the end of the day. And unfortunately, that leaves you open to human error. Of course, I could look at the same file and have the best intentions, but it's going to be different just because you are relying on a non-systematic approach to reviewing this data. So the first piece that Hakan solved for me was cleaning the data, and he has taken it even further for me. But the first piece we looked at was getting this large volume of data and really isolating it down to the data that we needed to look at.
So, yeah.
This is an example of what I provided, an Excel spreadsheet. It's 36 columns long, 90 some odd thousand lines long, and we had to find offsetting patterns. It would be nice if it was a 1-to-1 ratio, but of course that's not the environment we were working in. You could have transactions that are tens of thousands of lines apart, relying on sorting and filtering and looking for commonalities, but it was a very manual process and very prone to error, honestly.
So once we start taking the why, because Sharon has a why, why we need to do this, and we are already doing this, how we can improve this. We feel that there are some issues with that, but how are we going to solve this? How we can improve this further? Don't forget, this is globally entered data based on product, customers, and agreements. So it includes some complicated calculations based on third-party royalties, because we are a software producing company. Of course, we are using other software as well. Within those transactions, and since it is globally, there are some multiple entries for the same agreement, for the same customer, and for the same product. So what we are talking about, now I'm talking about what? We have this 90,000 lines, but among these 90,000 lines, I'm not searching for thousands of lines. What I'm searching for, 400 plus lines. And this is randomly distributed, if we call it that way. And where are they? And product names are close to each other. Same customer might have different agreements. So this is a very, very complicated data. And if you want to, I tried this by myself, to understand how people are feeling. And it took half a day, and I still did it wrong. So when you think of the effect of this kind of data and the consumption of this data by the corporate executives, so this is a very, very high value add structures. So there is this group of set, but is it a list or set? It's actually a set, but when you start implementing it, it's a list. So there's a difference between list and set. So these are, let's say these are sets, and these can be 1 to 30 plus member of sets. You don't know how many, because globally it's an entered data, so you have no idea how many people are entering, or there may be some sales transactions, some sale tactics, and some stuff. So you have multiple data entries, and you don't know how many of those. So we need clusters, and those clusters are 3, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, and you may end up, that means I need to find out which of these elements among these clusters eliminating each other, and I should take all of the members out of that cluster and as well as any cluster remaining. So which specific entries are these? I start with the highest number of clusters. So how can I develop this? So I got help from Iris, but she doesn't know that because I got the help from KNIME forum. Because one of the powerful structure of KNIME, and I think it may not be the most, but one of the most important power of KNIME is this forum structure. And you guys are taking it further with the hub, and you're going to see, I think, effect of hub. Hub is just disrupting thing, in my opinion, after I've seen this. So after I got the help from Iris, because she provided the answer for some guy, and it inspired me. Iris is there, by the way. And I called it like permutation aggregation, because permutation is list, aggregation is not a list. So this is one of the clusters, by the way. I end up like 3,000 rows, let's say, members, and only one of these have 14,000 members. So I need to find out which one of these guys are eliminating each other and take it out. So don't use it ever, because there will be a duplication. So 3,000 member ends up like 1.5 million rows. When it comes to annual data, it turns out to be 35 million rows. For annual structure, KNIME workflow runs 1.5 hours, by the way. And I have a developer's machine, so it's a powerful machine. So I talked about this structure. Now I need to take it out and offset it. And this is a aggregated or summarized structure of how it looks in KNIME. We take the data and, of course, indexed, filtered, and any and all mother of all combinations with the subsets I studied. I call it permutation aggregation. I searched Google. There is no such a term in mathematics, so don't search it. It doesn't exist. I made it up. So, and I found these zero offset agreements. This is another requirement added up on top of it, because I need to find which one of those are naturally zero offset. So it's a very, very complicated mathematical situation. And I'm not using machine learning. I just took the course this week. I'm not using any of these fancy stuff. I will be using those. So all this structure, all this problem solving is just coming out of beginner's course. So once you know your why, you start, how am I going to do this? You're going to get the help from forum, and you're going to get the help from other resources, because I use other Alteryx as well. I mean, I can say the power of KNIME is people are open, and people are asking questions. I mean, they're asking their problems in forum, and then you get the answer. But on the other hand, if you ask the problem and you get an answer like, oh, there's this node and it works this way, it doesn't help. I need an answer for that problem, and that's one of the answers provided by Iris. Most probably she doesn't know which one of those. And here are the impacts.
So with the assistance from Hakan, we now have eliminated the human error component of cleansing the data. We've also provided data stability. The information that I was communicating up the management chain and out to various audiences was not always as well received by certain audiences. Sales doesn't want to be, they don't want to hear that their deals weren't great. So they would always have this seed of doubt that they could plant to say, well, that data, it's just someone eyeballing it. It's not as reliable as it should be. So now we have this repeatable process. We have data that is consistent. We can also build that data. We were limited previously to looking at very specific period profiles. We can now accumulate that data and look for these same offsets or other characteristics that we want to exclude from our data. We can look at it at an annual basis. We can look at it historically. It provides a lot more analytical detail for us. In addition to the assistance with cleaning the data and making it usable for me, he took it the next step. I was also going through the tedious process of preparing dozens of slides and PowerPoint presentations, graphs, charts, displaying the information for a wide variety of audiences. And now all of that is done within the KNIME process. And it leaves my time to communicate this data and look for areas where we can help with those losses and low margins, which was what the report was supposed to do to begin with. And we've eliminated probably a week or so of my time that was just preparing this report. And it's, I think, a great example of adding value using KNIME.
Yeah, I mean, maybe KNIME guys may accept or not. Maybe you guys developed it a bit. KNIME is not a visualization tool. So I tried KNIME. I mean, I tried Python in KNIME to format an Excel file. I ended up Tableau. I mean, so this is a Tableau structure, and data is just prepared and all organized in KNIME, and just raw data, and it's all put in Tableau and
I would say even prior to this point, the ability to look at the data as it progresses through the analysis. When I was doing it just in Excel, it was too time-consuming to cut every line and deposit it somewhere else. It was just deleting as I went, and you couldn't really retrace my steps. So that is a huge value add to me also, so that if we ever do determine we need to change some logic, we have the ability to look to see where a transaction fell out, because it's all parsed out in those pieces that we can go back and retrace our steps.
So key messages. I mean, I was a beginner, and I am still beginner after taking machine learning and text mining course. I am not sure if I ever will be a pro after those courses. And these are really, really complex structures. So, I mean, as beginners, you should find the why within your organization. And then after you find your why, you will, one way or another, you will find a way to solve that issue. I mean, there are lots of people putting their help and their efforts on forum, KNIME forum. You will find the answers, and you will take pieces. Now, as I said, it's taken further with the KNIME Hub, which I really, really like. But what KNIME brings, of course, quality and accuracy of work, you know, with your of course, experiences and knowledge, and it empowers employees, because you may or may not know, in big organizations, if you have routine work taking your time, but you have sitting on a pile of data, and since your routine work is taking your time, I mean, you don't have enough time to develop new techniques or how you can utilize that data for better good of the company that you are working for.
Right. I would say my introduction to KNIME via Hakan, it does empower me to take this knowledge and apply it going forward. Fewer requests for, you know, specialized reporting from IT. Can they build a solution for me? Now I have the power to start thinking about how I'll use it going forward. And I do see a lot of areas in reporting and data management where my team, and I do feel like it is something we can learn. I'm certainly not a data scientist, but I feel like I learned a few good building blocks to start from. And I feel like I'm encouraged to try to learn it, because there are so many opportunities to ask for help, and it's a very supportive environment.
Low coding is great. I was planning to learn Python, and I stopped learning Python. I hope I won't need it, and I will be using KNIME. And what we did, we have Siemens is a very, very big organization, and KNIME and Siemens in Munich, in Germany, they have good relationships, and we have a data vision organization in there. You don't see the world map, but there is a world map behind this. That's why it's distributed. You want to talk about this?
So yeah, the approach for the desire to empower the finance organization is really based on a collaborative building of technology. I think it goes back to the profile of the company. They want their workforce to embrace technology. You have to learn how to do things faster. That's what we sell. We sell software to help other people do things faster, do it smarter, do it better. And we're encouraged as a workforce to do that, but they give us tools to do that. They send us to these types of conferences where we can learn, we can build on each other's knowledge. We had not met before this use case. Word was just out that he was looking for a use case. Someone had mentioned in passing that there was this very troublesome Excel file, and it became our first Siemens PLM use case, and the first of many. We ended up with a group of about 7 here this year, and I think there's going to be a pretty broad interest going forward.
Yeah, I mean, now I'm using KNIME for geolocation. I'm in office location analytics. Now I'm using KNIME for data reconciliation. I'm a management consultant. I'm using KNIME for even to create a replica or kind of data warehouse for a strategic initiative, I should say. KNIME is my daily life. I wish I knew KNIME 10 years ago. I mean, all these more than 2,000 rows, you don't have to know, I mean, that I feel all of the nodes. I mean, you can add value, I mean, like group by, or lag column. I mean, these are really, really good nodes which can solve a lot of issues. So Siemens is a big company, and of course we're buying lots of automation and softwares, and here are some of those. And if you have any questions you would like to answer, thank you very much.
Thank you. So Sharon, I want to ask you, like, how much time does that save you now that you have that whole process?
It's hard
in mind?
to, yeah.
Hard to
I would say
quantify?
on average it would take me about a week to go through and build all of the files that had to be supported. And part of the problem was, as you start to get into the data, you find an issue and you have to go, correct something in your master data and then start over. With KNIME, now I'm able to go back and do that. If I had found an issue with the data toward the end of my process, that was a week wasted. So sometimes it was a week, sometimes it was a week plus, depending on the quality of data that I started with. So being able to replicate this process in a quick turnaround, it was part of my job that it's my least favorite thing to do. And now it's kind of exciting.
So what's the next project?
Well, we are implementing a new SAP platform. We're doing a greenfield implementation, and we're rolling out the go live. So we are looking at a lot of dual maintenance over the next 2 years, and I really feel like some of the things that I've learned here today, I'll be able to apply to managing that data out of multiple systems and creating a more streamlined management of that to minimize the pain of dual maintenance.
Excellent. Thanks. All right. Any questions?
Yes. Hakan?
Oh.
Yes. So you have mentioned about the use Ultrix, and even in your PowerPoint you showed RIP miner. I'm sorry I'm bringing up this question, but I'll try to be positive about KNIME. Okay? So can you state about the strengths of the KNIME and the weakness of the Ultrix, and why you end up choose KNIME? It looks like that we have been through the similar journey.
I mean, they do the same thing. I took this KNIME course. I start implementing KNIME, and I start geocoding and traffic commute data analysis in Alteryx like within 2 days, just a little left. So these are one way or another. They call it tool. Here it is node, but the real power is the community. I couldn't find the community in Alteryx. And in some way, I'm more keen on KNIME. I like it. I'm an engineer. I have an MBA, but engineering stays there. So KNIME is sort of an engineering tool. The other one has some, email capabilities a little bit more advanced. But there's no community. If you ask, how am I going to find the mother of all combinations within a set, my use case, you get a node. And think of you're asking a question, and you're getting a group by how it works. It's not answer, to your question. So you need to engage consultants, and instead of empowering, I don't know. That's my opinion. You will find, I think, your.
All right. Any other questions?
Whoa.
Oh, one in the back.
So how much of your workflow is doing data aggregation and all of the preparation, and how much of it is actually sanity checking? Do you do that? Kind of flagging all of the weird things that Sharon then used to find manually?
This data aggregation is like monthly 30,000 rows data coming out of SAP. They're already in that structure. Read it with Excel node and aggregate it. Data aggregation is not that much. The finding the right combination, like 400 plus numbers out of 90,000, that was the structure. You're replacing your eye health with KNIME. That's what you're doing, because you have to do that. It's part of your job. You cannot transfer it somewhere else. Sharon and her team has to do that. That's the power. When it comes to sanity check or quality check, of course we ran multiple rounds of tests. I mean, so
Like any good user, anytime he would show me a result, I would ask for something else.
because I am putting some logic inside. So did I understand it correctly? And so, oh, there was this thing. I mean, I didn't mention this thing. I mean, think of this like, I'm a finance guy, Sharon is a finance person, but if you want to implement such a structure in an organization like Siemens, you have to create all these IT engagement and stuff like that. Now you don't have to do that. So the sanity check or the data quality, let's say, it was just, improving or developing the workflow, and once it's improved, it's there.